my name is Gwen Sorley. My background is in education. I have a master's in education, and I started using play attention with my students back in 1996. So I've been using play attention for about 25 years, and I've used it with every age from about 5 years old all the way up through adulthood. So hopefully, my experiences using play attention with lots of different individuals will give you a better understanding of the program and our process. Now, many of you here today, I've been looking at the list as you're logging in. Many of you have come to past webinars, and you know that every week we have webinars on different topics. We may be providing you with information and tips and strategies on organization. We just did one on ADHD in the workplace. We've talked about executive function and the learning process. And we always provide you with many different tools to use that might help you in your day-to-day. And a lot of you have requested a specific webinar just on play attention, just on how our process works, because we know that we can give you lots of tips and strategies, make your to-do list and beautiful calendars. Some of you do create. And I've talked to some of you who've said, I can spend 2 hours and create a beautiful organizer, but then I never use it. And that is really important to keep in mind. We can give you lots of tips and strategies, and we do want you to have those tools in your tool chest. But in order to utilize those tools to their maximum, we have to get to the root cause, right? We have to help you develop those foundational skills that are necessary for strong executive function. So if we teach you how to do a to-do list or a calendar, you'll not only be able to create that calendar, but you'll remember that you have it. You'll remember to look at it and follow it throughout the day and plan ahead. So our goal today is to teach you more about play attention, how we customize everyone's plan, and how we can help you improve executive function. Now, we specialize in one thing. And as I mentioned, we've specialized in that one thing for almost 30 years now. And that one thing is we help you reach your goals. I know that you're all here because you have a particular goal in mind. And I'd like to know your goals. So if you would, in your chat box, tell me a little bit about your goals. Why are you here today? Do you have a child who's struggling in school? Are you struggling in the workplace because of weak executive function? Are you disorganized? Are you having a hard time following through with multiple step instructions? Are you struggling with relationships? Are you a client or a professional who wants to help their clients improve executive function in order to be successful in the workplace or at classroom or at home? Please go ahead and type in the chat box why you're here today. What are your specific goals? Are those goals for yourself, your child, your clients? I'd like to know a little bit more about you so that I can get a better understanding of who's in the audience. Hope says she wants to help her inattentive teen who struggles with executive function. Darshita is here for her child. Let's see. Rose is here for 12-year-old son and significant other. Lori is an adult recently diagnosed. Disorganization is a huge issue. Emotion regulation, also a huge issue. Sherry's looking at it for herself. Ellie for her 14-year-old son. Kim, I have a child who is disorganized, need ways to help him achieve more. Kim says, I have a child who is disorganized. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Kim. Patsy, I have a great grandson with ADHD and to help him improve his executive function. Angela is here to help her child. Michael, I am retired. I want to clear up the mess and avoid leaving a mess before others, before I pass away. Eileen, 28-year-old son. with job issues and relationship issues, 9-year-old granddaughter, school issues. Okay. Leah, I'm an adult who struggles to complete tasks and follow multiple step instructions. I also have some difficulty with impulse control. Angela, my 13-year-old son. Gwen, following up, and I will be signing for my 2 grandsons. Susan, my daughter needs emotion regulation, motivation, help with disorganization. Terry, here as a therapist to help clients and my 7-year-old son. Donette, a therapist from Washington, has ADHD, needs organizational skills. Excellent. A lot of you have written in, and I can't, James says he's here because he struggles with disorganization and clutter leading to procrastination. And James, next week, our webinar is specifically on procrastination. So you may want to attend that. Marie, let me see. I think I cannot see your entire name. Marcio, hi, my goal is to get a job. I'm out of the work market for 10 years. I've been suffering from emotion dysregulation, and I need to control my emotions and follow life and get a job. Isabella, for 9-year-old son. Excellent. So many of you have replied. I'm sorry I can't read all of them, but I do appreciate you providing us feedback. So we have adults here looking at play attention for themselves. We have parents who are looking at play attention for their children. We have therapists looking at this for their children and their clients. So it's important for you to keep in mind that play attention is appropriate for any age. We do recommend you're at least 5 years old, but you can work on up through adulthood. And we are going to help all of you reach your goals by customizing a specific neurocognitive training program for you that is specifically designed to improve executive function. And we know that we can do this because, as I said, we've been doing it for about 30 years. We were actually the pioneers in neurocognitive training. We invented the genre. Back in the 1980s, the founder of our company, Peter Freer, he was working with children and adults with attention difficulties. And he was really frustrated because he was working with such bright individuals who were struggling and they weren't reaching their full potential. So he started researching different attention training techniques. And he came across the work that NASA was doing with their pilots and astronauts. So Dr. Pope and Dr. Paulson from NASA, they were integrating feedback technology with their simulator training. This means that they were actually monitoring the brain states of their pilots and astronauts and integrating that with their job training, which was their simulator training, their flight simulator training. So when they were in their very attentive state, they were monitoring pilots and astronauts' states of attention. When they were in their peak attentive state, then the simulator was easy to fly, meaning that all of the modules, all of the knobs and modules they had to maneuver became very easy to move. They were almost automatic. However, if the pilot or astronaut became stressed or anxious or distracted, not as focused, then all of their controls became sluggish. They were all manual. So the controls became very difficult to maneuver. So they were able to do their job best if they were able to maintain their peak attentive state. So they were integrating feedback technology, allowing that pilot or astronaut to see their attention in real time while doing their actual job skill. So our founder, Peter Freer, thought, that's brilliant. If I can integrate that feedback technology and show my students their attentive state while they're actually working on the cognitive skills they need in order to be successful, then I have a comprehensive program. And that was the very foundation of play attention. to integrate that feedback technology with cognitive skill training. So that's what makes us unique and effective. It's what we teach and how we teach it. Play Attention is the only program available that integrates feedback-based technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to provide you with the most comprehensive approach available. So you see our body wave technology on our page right now. Some of you may have already seen it on our website, but this is the body wave technology. So it's a specially designed armband. And on the back, there are 3 sensors. Okay, now that's just going to rest on your arm. And those 3 sensors monitor your brain activity that tells us how attentive you are. And then that information is given over to the computer where you're allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with your mind, or more specifically, your attention alone. And you receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not you truly are focused and paying attention. And that's a really important first step in the learning process, because right now, if you have a child or a client or a student and they're struggling with attention, and you look at them and you say, I need you to pay attention, what do they typically say back to you? Go ahead and type in the chat box what you typically say. You look at your child and you say, Richard, I need you to pay attention. Lucy, I need you to pay attention. What do they typically say back to you? I want to see if you're hearing the same thing I was hearing as a teacher. And it looks like a lot of you are. So Hope says, I am. Michelle, I am. Michael, but I am paying attention. And many of you have capitalized am. And Lori, Kim, Elizabeth. Excellent. Many of you are saying I am. Catherine says, oh, Mom, I'm too tired. But most of you say, I am trying, right? Terry says, I'm trying, but it's boring. And I'm going to get to that point in just a minute. But many of you are hearing, I am paying attention. And you know, they really think that they are paying attention. The difficulty is they haven't developed what it takes for them personally to stay very focused to low stimuli activity for long periods of time. So what we're doing with our body wave technology is we're taking that very abstract concept and we're making it concrete and controllable. So now, just as those pilots and astronauts could see how attentive they were by how well they were able to do their job, which was flying, right? Now we allow your child or yourself or your students to actually experience what it means to pay attention. And that's so critical to keep in mind, because if you think about yourself or your child or your clients or your students, how do you think they learn best? Go ahead and type in, how do they learn best? Is it by hands-on experiential learning, or do they learn best by lecture? Go ahead and let me know how you or your child learn best. Is it hands-on experiential, or is it mostly lecture? Catherine says experiential 100%. Lori, hands-on. Kim, definitely hands-on. Patsy, hands-on. Michelle, Caroline learns best with videos. Okay, good. Gwen brings up an important point that it's hands-on as long as it's something they're interested in. That goes back to what Terry was saying also. Good. So most of you, I would say 98% of you are saying hands-on, experiential, right? If I provide my child with an experience, he learns from it. Unfortunately, with attention, we try to teach it through lecture, right? We say, sit still, eyes on me, pay attention. We try to tell them what to do. But that's really not effective, is it? Because how many times a day are you saying, pay attention, I need you to pay attention. Look at me, eyes on me, pay attention. Has that changed anything? Has that taught anything? No. But when we can experience what it means to pay attention, where you see your attentive state, you feel what you're doing, and you're allowed to practice it, that's where you can truly learn how to control your attention at will. So all of our cognitive exercises are brain enabled. So just as the pilot and astronauts, their simulator training, they were brain enabling, right? That simulator training was brain enabled, meaning they had to be in their peak attentive state in order to fly that simulator. Same thing with our cognitive exercises, whether you're working on attention stamina or short-term memory or working memory or auditory processing, no matter what skill you're working on, you have to activate that activity with your attention. If you're not paying attention, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction, and you have to focus back in order to continue. And we do this because we know you can have a great counselor, you can have a fantastic teacher, but if you're unable to pay attention to that individual or to that teaching method or to that counseling, it's going to be very difficult for you to get maximum benefit. In order to learn, in order to shape behaviors, you have to be actively engaged in that learning process. So that's why we mandate that you're always paying attention. And when we talk about you reaching your goals, we know that in order to help you reach your goals, we have to help you create these new neural pathways that are necessary for strong executive function. So there are very specific catalysts that are necessary for brain change, because brain change doesn't just happen. It doesn't just occur. There have to be specific catalysts in place in order to spark that brain change, in order to create those new neural pathways. And so we have incorporated those three catalysts into the Play Attention program. The very first catalyst necessary for brain change is attention. Because as we just said, if you're not paying attention, then you're not going to learn. You're not going to spark that brain change. So that's the very key. That body wave armband is constantly monitoring your attentive state, and you're going to activate all of those activities based on your attention. So we take care of that very first catalyst. The activity won't even begin unless you are actively engaged. The second catalyst necessary for brain change is challenge. And we have what's called an auto adjuster algorithm within the program. That means when you put that body wave armband on, we're only looking at your best ability to pay attention. And then all of the activities are based on that. So if you're able to pay attention, then the activity will start or the character will go in the correct direction. If you're able to maintain that level of attention for a given number of seconds, then our auto adjust algorithm begins, right? So that we're going to raise the bar just a little bit more in order for you to be successful. So now you've been able to maintain this level of attention. Now we're going to challenge you. And we do that because we know that if you come into a learning situation and you're 100% successful, you might feel good about yourself, but you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to spark any brain change. You have to be challenged in order to learn. Now, the opposite is true too, because I know some of you as parents are thinking, but I don't want him to be frustrated because he's already frustrated at school or at home. So the opposite is true too. We know that if you are frustrated, you're not going to learn any either. So if you are able to maintain your attention, we raise the bar. Now, let's say you start to get a little fatigued and you're not able to reach that same level of attention. Then we bring that bar back down to your last successful level, and then we gradually build you up. So our auto adjust algorithm is constantly keeping you at a challenging yet success-based pace. Very important in the learning process. Now, the third catalyst necessary for brain change, we've talked about attention, we've talked about challenge. The third is deliberate practice. We don't want you coming into a session and just going through the motions, right? That's like an athlete who may go in and let's say he's a golfer and he has no goal in mind. He just constantly goes in and hits a bucket of balls over and over and over again with no goal. That person probably isn't going to improve. The athlete that is going to improve is going to practice what's hard for him or her, right? He's going to go in there with a specific goal in mind and try to reach that goal through practice. And so there has to be goal setting. And we have Sheer Genius, which is our artificial intelligence, Sheer Genius, which will set mini goals for you. That means when you start an activity, Sheer Genius is going to say, yesterday you completed attention stamina with 70% attention. Today, let's try 72%. So there are small achievable goals that are automated for you based on your previous performance. So we have attention. You're going to activate all of the activities with your attention. Our auto adjust algorithm is going to keep you constantly challenged. And then our deliberate practice model means that you're always going to have a small achievable goal to help you move towards higher levels of achievement. Now, there are some questions I want to just touch on really quickly before we move on. And if I don't get to your questions, I will answer questions at the end of the webinar as well. Michael said, are there YouTube videos demonstrating the different modules? Yes, and we can point you to that, but we do have a full YouTube channel, and I can make certain that you get access to that or direction to that. Let's see. Let me make sure everyone is taken care of here. Michael, yes, you can use the body wave technology when you're doing everyday tasks. And I'm going to explain that a little bit further. That's a great question. Elizabeth, you say, how does your approach compare to biofeedback? And I'm thinking you mean neurofeedback, because that's typically the question that is asked of us. Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about clinical neurofeedback? Just let me know so I can, okay, yes. All right. The difference between play attention and neurofeedback, when you go to a neurofeedback clinician, they typically believe that attention difficulties are caused by brainwave dysregulation. So they'll say, we're going to decrease theta, we're going to increase beta, because they believe if you fix the brainwave, then you fix the individual. But as we were talking about earlier, when I asked you what your goals were, many of you didn't bring up attention. Most of you brought up organization, you brought up emotion regulation, procrastination. You brought up all of these other skills, because when we talk about attention's just the tip of the iceberg. So when you go into a neurofeedback clinician, they're just looking at brainwave output, brainwave changes. And they'll say, you know, we're going to decrease theta, we're going to increase beta, and they'll sit at one computer and you're sitting at a different computer just looking at brain activity. You can change a brainwave, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get your homework done on time. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to control your emotions, that you're going to be more organized, that you're going to be able to plan or prioritize. Those are skills. And if we're going to teach you skills, we have to teach you those skills directly. So that's what play attention does. Play attention is an advancement of clinical neurofeedback, in that we don't just monitor brain activity. We monitor brain activity and incorporate that with specific skill training, so that you're going to learn skills you can then transfer and generalize back into the classroom and back at home, because that's what's important. You can have a great play attention session, but that's not the most important thing. The important thing is that you can apply these skills in other areas. I hope that makes sense, Elizabeth. If you need more information, just let me know. So as I've been saying, though, we've been doing this integrative approach with feedback technology, integrated with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping, to provide you with the most comprehensive approach available. And Tufts University School of Medicine wanted to know, Is that integration important? Or can we just give you a series of cognitive exercises and get the same results? So they went into the Boston Public School District and they had 3 different groups of students, all identified as ADHD. The first group received play attention, so full integration. The second group received just cognitive exercises, or what you hear a lot about as brain games. So, cognitive exercises on the computer, but no feedback technology and no behavior shaping. And the third was their control, and they received no intervention at all. And at the end of the study, the play attention students were the only students that showed global improvements in all areas, including academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. They were also the only students that, if they started the study and they were on medication, because some of them were on, some of them were not, it did vary. But if they were on medication and they were in the play attention group, those students had an average decrease in their medication, whereas the other 2 groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. If we can help you develop the skills that you lack, there may be less of a necessity to mask those symptoms. So, great studies. They also did a 6-month follow up to make certain that those skills maintained even after the study had ended. If you would like to receive those studies for your review, please type in Tufts in the chat box and we'll make certain that we send you an email follow up with that specific information so you can review those. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you what one of the exercises look like, because, many of us, when I talk about what the different cognitive exercises look like, it's hard to picture in our mind. But I'm showing you on my screen one of my clients. This is John. And you notice that he has that body wave armband on his arm and he sees the submarine. Now, what he's doing here is our cognitive exercise called attention stamina. Now, when he starts this activity, that submarine is at the top of the screen. It's at the very top of the screen. Once he's focused and paying attention, remember, mind attention, concentration has nothing to do with the eyes. It's how well he is paying attention. He's able to push that character down to the bottom of the ocean just with his attentive state, just his mind alone. Then he knows that's what it means to pay attention. This is what it means to pay attention. And how empowering is that? If you've been told you can't pay attention, you never pay attention, you need to pay attention for years, all of a sudden, within the first couple of minutes, you're actually rewarded for paying attention. So that's really empowering. And I know that a lot of you, if you have a teenager, that teenager at this point is probably thinking that all of this is outside of her control. I just can't do it. It's outside of my control. I have ADHD, right? But ADHD is not who you are. It doesn't define you. You can be in control of this, but you have to have a way to practice it and to learn it. So this is what we're doing in attention stamina, teaching you how to direct and sustain your attention at will. Now, if you get distracted, and distraction can be a variety of things. It could be that someone walks into the room and you can't filter that noise. It could be that your mind just starts to wander. It could be that you start a self-distracting behavior like skin picking or nail biting or chewing on your shirt. Immediately, that character is going to start to float up because you're no longer as attentive. And then you have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus back in order to push it back down to the bottom of the ocean. So by providing you with that constant and immediate feedback, we're giving you that experiential learning, right? We're allowing you to experience what it means to pay attention. I'm not just saying, pay attention, eyes on me, sit still. I'm letting you see it. I'm letting you see your attention in real time and control it. So once you have that character at the top, then you have to control your attention to get it back down to the bottom. And by providing you with this constant and immediate feedback regarding your attentive state, you're developing that self-regulation and self-monitoring you need to not only know when you're paying attention, but also recognize when you're not paying attention. And more importantly, you'll know how to correct it because you've had an opportunity to practice it. I hope that makes sense to everyone. If you have questions, please do ask them. I know that some questions are coming in right now, but I had a couple of questions from, let's say, Gwen and Terry. The two of them mentioned if they're very interested in it, then they can do it, or they do well with experiential learning as long as they're interested. Now, that's really important to keep in mind, because when we talk about attention deficit, that's really a misnomer. There is no one with a complete deficit of attention. Usually they have great attention. It's just diffused over a variety of things, but they also have the ability to hyper focus if it's high stimuli or high interest. Because how many of you here can relate to this? You have a child who absolutely struggles at school because of a lack of attention, but he or she can come home and play Minecraft for hours and never move. Or I used to hear a lot about it with Legos. He can play with his Legos for hours, but a lot of times it's video games, right? They can play video games for hours and hours and never move. And that's because it's not a lack of attention. If they are wired to pay attention to high stimuli and high interest. So we don't need to teach them how to pay attention to entertainment. They got that. What we need to teach is what's more difficult, and that's how to pay attention to low stimuli, much like the classroom or the workplace, where we have to be able to attend to much lower stimuli. So that's why our graphics you see on the screen, that's about as exciting as our graphics get. They are very simple. They are very low stimuli so that you can learn how to pay attention to that low stimuli at will. Now, play attention includes all of the cognitive exercises that are necessary for strong executive function, because that's our end goal, right? How many of you here use the raise your hand at the bottom of the screen? Raise your hand if you're familiar with executive function. I just want a quick poll to see how many people are familiar with that, or should I touch on executive function a little bit? Okay, it looks like many of you are familiar with executive function. But let me go over it just briefly for those of you who didn't raise your hand. You can think of executive function as the CEO of your mind, okay? It's what allows you to control your behaviors, your emotions, your attention. It allows you to plan, prioritize, organize, avoid procrastination, and remain on task. These are processes that we use every day. However, they are very weakest for people with attention difficulties. So our goal is to help you develop foundational cognitive skills so that you can have strong executive function. So that means you can be more organized. You can regulate your emotions. You'll be able to plan and prioritize and organize. You'll have stronger mental flexibility so that you're able to transition. So those are processes of executive function. But in order to get there, we have to get to the root of the cause, which are very specific cognitive exercises. And all of you are going to need different skills, right? So that's where the customization comes in. We're going to learn more about you as an individual and pinpoint which cognitive exercises are most important for your program. But keep in mind, all of these cognitive exercises are brain enabled. So no matter what you're working on, you have to be paying attention in order to activate the activity, in order to spark that brain change. So let's talk about the different cognitive exercises that are included with Play Attention. So your customized course will begin with the foundations of executive function. So there are core modules that come standard with everyone's course, and those include attention stamina. So that's your ability to direct and sustain your attention at will. So that's the one I was just explaining to you with the different characters, and you actually learn how to control those characters with your attentive state, how to direct and sustain your attention. Visual tracking. That's a good one if the teacher has said to you, she does great when I stand right next to her. But as soon as I walk away, she's out the window and out the door. And then she has that diffused attention where she's paying attention to a little bit of everything. So we work on staying very focused and visually tracking that teacher as he or she moves about the classroom. Task completion. Task completion is probably something 95% of you are wanting, right? That ability to start one task, stay on that one task until completion. So 15 minutes of homework takes 15 minutes and not 3 hours. Or you don't get to the end of the day and think, I'm exhausted. I was busy all day, but I finished nothing. So usually the clients that we work with are average to well above average in intelligence. It's not that you don't know how to do the task. It's the process that's difficult. That ability to start the task, stay on that task until completion. Short-term memory, that's the ability to remember dates, names, facts, filtering distractions, because as we talked about, it's not a deficit of attention. You have great attention. The problem is you're paying attention to bits and pieces of everything. So your child may be able to tell you a little bit about what the teacher said, but she also knows what the bird's doing outside, and she knows what Johnny's doing in the back of the room because she's paying attention to everything. So she's on sensory overload. So what we need to teach you is how to stay focused to what's important and filter out all of that unnecessary stimuli. And finally, academic bridge, where we work on transfer and generalization. And I think, if memory serves me correctly, Michael, you asked about that being able to wear the body wave technology while connected to play attention. And you'll be able to do that. That's what we call the academic bridge. And academic bridge, you notice here, my student has that body wave armband on and she's doing a report. She's not looking at the screen. And as long as she's paying attention to her report, she hears from the computer, good, great. So then she knows she's in that state she needs to be in order to finish this assignment. If she starts to drift, she'll hear focus. And then she knows she has to get back on track, that she's lost her attention. She needs to get back on track. So no longer mom and dad standing over their child saying, get back on track, get back on track. The program is guiding you through this. And this is really key because this is where we're asking you to take all of the skills you've learned within play attention and apply them to your real work. So that's an example for a child, but as an adult, I work with one adult and she is a high school English teacher and she has been struggling with grading papers. She's been spending 2 days on the weekend just trying to grade papers because she can't pay attention to it. She gets distracted. So we started incorporating academic bridge. She learned so much about what distracts her, how to keep her attention on that task until completion. And now she's down to 2 hours on the weekend instead of 2 days. Again, our goal is to improve executive function so you don't have to work so hard. Okay. So a lot of different things that we can do with the academic bridge to help you with that transfer and generalization of the skills learned. You all have such good questions, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to a lot of them, but if I don't get to your questions, I will follow up at the end. Lawanda says, are you born with executive function or lack of cognitive abilities? None of us are born with strong executive function, but we all have the potential to develop strong executive function. The development of executive function actually starts right after birth. As a baby, executive function starts to develop. It's not truly fully developed, typically, until we're at our mid to late 20s. That's where executive function is typically fully developed. Now, there's a lot that can hinder that development. ADHD is one of them, stress and anxiety, TBI, post-traumatic stress syndrome, things like that. Your environment can really cause that development to be delayed. But again, if we have the right tools, if we have the right challenges in place, you can develop strong executive function. The difficulty is We expect everyone to have strong executive function by the time they reach middle school, but we never teach those skills in elementary school. So it really is important for those individuals who need assistance that we have a program in place to help them develop those skills. Good question, Luanda. Randall, yes, you will receive a copy. Okay. All right. I think I got most of the questions. Hope, you say, will the computer voice override or pause the sound coming out of the computer? Online teacher, you probably would want to use a separate computer. If your work is on the computer itself, you would want to use a separate computer for this particular activity. That's a good question. Very good. All right. So again, the foundations of executive function, all of you will receive these modules: attention stamina, visual tracking, time on task, short-term memory, and discriminatory processing, and the academic bridge for transfer and generalization. Now, when you get up into the intermediate and advanced skill options, because there is a beginner, intermediate, and advanced skill option within all of these course modules, and Sheer Genius, our artificial intelligence, will track certain benchmarks and graduate you when appropriate. When we graduate you, then we incorporate more processes. So when you get up into the intermediate level, not only are we going to be working on that specific cognitive skill and attention, but we're also going to tie in processing speed. So if you have an individual that you're working with that has slow processing, we incorporate processing speed. We incorporate task switching, so that mental flexibility. We incorporate impulse control and also distractors. That's incorporated into all of the exercises in the beginning and in the intermediate and advanced skill options. Now, we also have masterclass modules available, and these are not mandatory for your system. These are options that you can pick and choose from. Those include working memory. Working memory, probably many of you have discussed working memory at school or in the workplace, because this is that higher level thinking skill. So that's the ability to take in information, hold that information in your mental workspace, and give a response. So it helps with reasoning, evaluating, comprehension. Very helpful with mathematical word problems or reading comprehension. Auditory processing, that's the ability to follow through with multiple step verbal instructions. Hand-eye coordination, you would incorporate this if there's any difficulty with small motor control, like handwriting or keyboarding. Social skills, that's a good one if you have a child or an adult who misses social cues. They miss the look, they miss the shake of the head, so they often respond inappropriately or impulsively. Motor skills is a good one if you have more bumps, bruises, accidents than your peers. It helps with that mind-body coordination. Spatial memory is remembering where things are located. And then we also have a mindfulness application, because we hear so much about how mindfulness helps with the symptoms of ADHD. But we can't just look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is hard, right? It's hard for all of us, but especially if your mind is constantly running. So our mindfulness application actually gives you a visual representation of what it means to be in the present moment. So you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you're focused and you are in the present moment, you're able to start opening that petal on the flower. Now, if you start thinking about what's for dinner, when do I have to pick up the kids, what's on my agenda tomorrow, that petal is going to start to close because you're no longer in the present moment. And then you have to bring your mind back in order to continue. So we're going to teach you mindfulness, but we're going to give you a visual representation and guide you through that process. Lori asks a really important question. How do all of these help with emotion regulation? And that is a key component to this, right? Because emotion regulation is a process of executive function. And I told you that our end goal is to improve executive function. Emotion regulation is part of that. But Lori, if you think about all of the skills that are involved in emotion regulation, it means that you have to be able to pay attention to the entire situation. You have to be able to process the information. You have to be able to control your impulsive response to the situation, filter out distractions. And all of those skills are what we're working on in play attention. So every time you do play attention, every time you're involved in a play attention session, you're developing strong executive function. You're improving the skills you need in order to control your emotions. So every session, you're developing stronger executive function, stronger emotion regulation, stronger abilities to stay organized. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, please do let me know. Okay, good, Lori. Thank you. So Anne asks about tics or body movements that distract attention. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, Anne, because that's a critical part. We've talked about the cognitive skills, but there also is a full behavior shaping component. Now, when we talked about the different cognitive skills, everything in our foundations of executive function, all of those modules, in addition to our master class modules, you may be thinking, I don't know where to begin. What do I need? What does my child need? Or Terry might be thinking, what do my clients need? We do have assessments available. If you're not sure, these are options for you. We have 2 different assessments. One is called Focus. Focus is a norm reference test of attentional control. It is computer-based. It takes 20 minutes. And at the end of the 20 minutes, we receive a full report that tells us how you performed compared to the performance of your peers. We also have the brief available, which is a behavior rating intake of executive function. And that's an online survey that gives us a good snapshot of your executive function or your child's executive function in the day-to-day. So those assessment packages are available. Each assessment is $50, and it does include we'll need about a 30 to 40 minute follow-up in order to review the results with you and talk about those results and how to customize your play attention program based on those results. So typically, like I said, the full assessment package, which includes 1 focus assessment and 1 brief assessment, is $100 with your follow-up. But with today's special offer, you can get each assessment for half price. So each assessment would be $25 with your follow-up. So if you are interested in learning more about the assessment or registering yourself or a child or a client for one of those assessments or both of those assessments, just type in assessment so that we can get back to you and provide you with more information or information on how to register for those assessments, if that would help you really make a plan, because that's what this is all about, right? Many of you are here because you already know where the struggles are, right? But we need to take that information and make a solid plan of action, because unless you have a plan of action, it's going to be very difficult for you to reach your goals. Right? So we have to make that plan. And those assessments help us make that plan. Now, once you start your play attention program includes everything you need to run your program. So of course, you'll have your body wave technology. And someone here asked, I'm sorry, but I didn't see the name. I've just been kind of scanning the information as it comes in. So someone asks, with the home system, do you receive multiple play attention body wave armbands? No, with the home system and the professional system, you receive 1 body wave armband. Now you're going to have, with the home system, a user license for 2 people. That means at any one time, you can enroll 2 family members. Now, most of our families do like to go through the program together. So you may have 4 or 5 family members that are enrolled. So you can always upgrade your user license. Each additional user license is $50. If you are a professional, you'll have an unlimited user license. So you can work with as many clients as you need to. If you start with just the professional version, you'll have one body wave armband. That means you'll be working one-on-one, but you can work throughout your day, schedule your clients from 3 to 3:30, then 3:30 to 4, and meet with multiple clients. Now, we do have the iLab available for professionals if they want to work with multiple clients or offer distance training. So you'll have your body wave armband, you'll have your customized neurocognitive training plan, your full behavior shaping module. And this goes back to the question that I think it was Anne had about behaviors. And when we talk about the behaviors, there's that full behavior shaping component incorporated. Now, this is really important because you're going to actually track self-distracting behaviors like skin picking, nail biting, chewing on their shirt. And the difficulty is many times they are unaware of the behaviors they're exhibiting. And more importantly, even if you point it out, they don't know how it affects them. But when doing play attention, if they have that character at the bottom of the ocean that I was describing earlier, and they start to pick their skin, immediately that character starts to float up and you have a real teachable moment. What happened when you started to skin pick? Well, it started to float up. So what does that mean? It means I'm not paying attention. So in the classroom, when you do that, what does it mean? So the behavior shaping, Anne, is really critical to that learning process. If there are no behaviors, we turn that component off. But if there are behaviors, we will actively be using that. You'll all be assigned a personal executive function coach to help you every step of the way. And that support is free and unlimited for as long as you're using the program. That person is actually going to take you through a 60 to 90 minute phone tutorial or Zoom tutorial to make sure you're real comfortable with everything before you start working. And you all have a lifetime membership with us, along with that unlimited support, as long as you're using Play Attention. Now, we do recommend that everyone works at least an hour per week, and that hour could be broken up. So it could be 2 30-minute sessions. It could be 4 15-minute sessions, whatever works for that person individually. You'll start to see good results after about 6 weeks of consistent training. But the research shows in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that not only will you have these skills when you're 8, but you're going to have them when you're 48, or not only will you have these when you're 48, but you'll have them when you're 68. Usually permanency takes place around 40 hours of training. So I would plan on being enrolled in this course for about 10 months. After about 10 months of consistent training, you'll probably be ready to graduate the course. But you and your executive function coach will meet in order to make certain we graduate you at the appropriate time. Remember, you have a lifetime membership, so there's no rush. If you're not ready, we customize the plan and we keep going. Even once you graduate, if you want to continue using Play Attention for peak performance, you can do that. Now, I know I'm running out of time, but I do want to just mention a few key features because Sheer Genius does so much for you. Sheer Genius sets the daily curriculum for you, so you always know exactly which activities you're to do that day. Sets that deliberate practice model, so you're going to have those mini goals, tracks and awards points, and awards those points when your goals are reached. So someone here talked about, well, what about motivation? So the goal setting and the reward system helps with motivation. Sheer Genius will manage your reward system and monitor your progress. So at any time, you can go into your dashboard and actually look at your progress over time. And if at any point you think, I need more than just graphs and raw data, that's when you get your executive function coach to have a meeting with you and talk about your progress and review your results with you. We also have live online training sessions available. That means we have personal trainers that you can have a live training session with. Where they're actually watching you as you do your Play Attention session. That's an option. It's not included with the program, but it is a great option for you. And we will provide you with more information on that. So of course, as we go through this process, You're going to have increased attention, improved behavior, an improved ability to complete tasks. You're going to notice that your memory is better. You'll notice that your child is able to make friends and keep friends. You may see an improvement in your work productivity. There are so many benefits. Once we can improve all of those cognitive skills and executive function, you're going to see amazing outcomes. And we have many stories on our website. If you haven't looked at them yet, you may want to look at our success stories where many of our adult clients or professional clients or parents have actually posted the benefits that they have received from using Play Attention. So again, the home system does come with a user license for 2 people, but you can upgrade that user license, or those user licenses are reusable. The professional system includes an unlimited user license. So if you're thinking I have 25 clients and they could all use this, then you have that unlimited user license. There's no continuing licensing fees. And you'll receive everything that we discussed earlier. So everything from your body wave technology to your personal executive function coach and your lifetime membership. The home system is a one-time fee, which is $1,795. The professional version is also a one-time fee, no continuing fees, which is $2,495. So $1,795 for home, $2,495 for the pro. And again, that includes your unlimited support and your lifetime membership. Someone here had asked about insurance coverage. If you're talking about medical insurance, typically medical insurance will not cover because we're not a medical device. We're an educational tool for cognitive skill training. If you have a flexible spending account or a health savings account, those typically will cover. Okay. So usually in medical insurance, no, but if you have a flexible spending account or a health savings account, yes. Okay. Let's see. So let me just take a couple more slides here because I did want to share our spring fever special. Many of you have probably seen this already because we've been running this all week. It does run through tomorrow. So on our spring fever special, you'll receive 10% off plus 3 modules from our master's class for free. Those add-on modules from our master class are typically right around $50. There are a couple that are $79, but you'll receive 3 of those for free. So instead of starting with the 6 core modules that are the foundations of executive function, you'll also include the 3 modules from the master's class. And those are based on what you would like. And we can even decide on those a little bit later after you do the assessment or have your initial conversation with your executive function coach when we're doing the customization of your program. Okay, please do keep your questions coming. I know you have a lot of them and I will get to them. So again, you'll have all of your foundational skills, but with the master's class, you'll have 3 add-ons available to you for free, and we'll go over those with you in detail so we make certain that we get the right modules for you. And remember, even if you're working with 20 different clients in a professional setting, we're going to teach you how to customize each plan. So let's talk about, before I go back to your questions, next steps, because I know some of you do need to go. We will get the assessment out information to those of you who said you want the assessment. If you would like to go ahead and start your program, please do type in your phone number and one of our agents will give you a call back sometime this afternoon. If there's a specific time you need a call back, please include that and we will make certain to accommodate your needs. So if you would like to go ahead and start, take advantage of that spring fever special. I know I have spring fever for certain. So if you would like to take advantage of that, go ahead and type in your phone number. And yes, we will call outside the United States. That's not a problem. Just type in your phone number and we will go ahead and give you a call this afternoon. If there's a specific time, please do let us know. If you wanted to register for the assessment and you forgot to type in assessment, please do that as well. If you want the assessment, of course, the consultation comes with it. But if you don't want to do an assessment, you just want a one-on-one consultation to talk about your specific needs, let's do that. So type in a consultation and we'll contact you for a consultation. And of course, next week's webinar, I mentioned it earlier, we're going to talk about ADHD and procrastination. So if you want to come to next week's webinar, type in webinar if you haven't registered yet, and we will register you for that event. We're going to be talking about a new way of thinking about procrastination. It's not just about time management. There's a whole new way to think about procrastination that you may not have considered. So if you want that webinar, same time next week, just type in webinar. So if you'd like to start your course, go ahead and type in your phone number. We'll give you a call. Please don't raise your hand because I don't know what you want. If you just raise your hand and I won't have record of that, please do type it in the chat box. If you want to register for the assessment, type in assessment. Consult, just type in consult. Remember, the assessment comes with a consult, and the webinar if you want the webinar. All right, as you are typing in everything, if you do have to jump, thank you so much for attending today. I do really appreciate all of your time. I know I talked a really long time, but I do hope that the information really helped you, really made you think about a plan of action. You know, you may have been thinking for years where the difficulties lie, but what are we going to do about it, right? How are we going to reach those goals? So I hope this discussion truly helped you in that manner. So I will go ahead and stay on here and answer additional questions. And then if you do have additional questions after we sign off, please do reach out to us from our website or feel free to give us a call at our 800 number. And I hope you have a great afternoon, and we look forward to working with all of you very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.